wake up between 4 and 5. When I'm up, I'm like, okay, time to get up. And I just get out of bed. And the minute my feet hit the floor, I'm good. I'm out of that state of like, oh, go back to bed. Don't worry about it. Nope, it's work time. If I'm seeing patients, I just get right into it, mixture of follow-ups and some initial consultations. And I love that. I get to, really spend some time and hang out with a lot of my patients. Again, very early on, I started waking up. I mean, honestly, back when I was working in the surgery center, I had to be in at like 5:30. So I would wake up at like 3:30. It was a little rough. I did that for maybe about a year or so, but it worked. I mean, I was able to get a lot of work done. My oldest daughter at the time, she was like a newborn for the most part. And so it was just a moment in time where nobody was awake. The house was quiet and I could just sit down and get my work done. Amazing. I've loved that ever since. I've just moved the time up a little bit because 3 o'clock's pretty rough. Meant I was going to bed at like 8 o'clock, maybe earlier. That was tough. So nowadays, wake up between 4 and 5. I don't have an alarm. I don't need one. I'm not suggesting that that's a good idea for everybody, but I just, my body wakes up at that time. And I love that. It's an easy wake up. One of the things I do is I try not to like wake up and just lay there, because all of a sudden the bed feels really warm and cozy. And maybe if I just lay my head back down, when I'm up, I'm like, okay, time to get up. And I just get out of bed. And the minute my feet hit the floor, I'm good. I'm out of that state of like, oh, go back to bed. Don't worry about it. I just go right back into like, nope, it's work time. So I get up, grab my phone, head downstairs, let my beautiful dog out, Silas, to go pee. So it's just him and I now. And I get right to work. I'm writing my daily emails. But the first thing I really like to do, I try my best. I'm not perfect at this either, but I try not to read any emails. I try not to get on Facebook. I try not to do anything other than just like sit with my thoughts for a second. And I think that's really helpful. Personally, I say a little prayer. It's nothing magical, but it's magical to me, I guess. And it's not long. It could be short. Sometimes it's longer, but I'm also really asking like, what can I do today? What problem could I maybe help solve or maybe address, and just communicate with people who I love and who are interested in, learning about HRT, for example, or business or whatever, for my daily email. And so I pray about that for a second, and then I sit down and I just start writing. And I find that works great. Again, I don't pre-plan any of my written material at all. The daily emails, they are fresh. They are like coming out hot out of my brain onto my laptop. Many of you will catch typos and horrible grammatical and spelling errors. And it's because it's just me writing at like 5 a.m. in the morning. That's just my thoughts. And so I put all that together. And I really like that. It's like almost like a challenge too, right? Like, okay, come up with something interesting and exciting, and what's new out there in terms of studies. Like sometimes if I have the time, I'll really sit there and just kind of browse through like some of the things that I find interesting. And almost always there's just this like, aha, that's what I'm going to talk about today. Like I would say that happens like 98% of the time. It just kind of comes to me. I start writing. I try my best to keep it to like, I want to try to get that email done in like 30 minutes. Sometimes it takes me a little longer. I'm not only long-winded on a podcast and in person, but also in writing. Probably some of you guys have noticed that. It's a gift and a curse, I think. But I like it. And so I think I've gotten better over time at trying to condense some of my thoughts and words, but I just start writing. So 30 minutes about, right? So by 5:30, 6 o'clock, I should be like kind of wrapped up with my daily email. Which is perfect timing because then the girls are getting up. The girls wake up early, just like I do. And then I'm making them breakfast, and, they're so cute in the mornings, and it's really fun. And I love that time of the morning. Like, I feel like I can now like, okay, let's like focus on family for a second and like be involved. And so I make breakfast and we eat together. Sherelle at that time is usually like up and getting ready and all that kinds of stuff, which is cool. So she kind of gets her time to wake up because it takes her a little bit longer to wake up than I do. I'm having my coffee. I don't know if for those of you who don't know me well enough, I'm a big coffee guy. I love coffee. I really, really, really love coffee. And frankly, not because of the caffeine. Like, to me, that's maybe like a little cherry on top. I just love coffee because it has that warmth and it's just that routine, right? I don't care if it's black coffee. I don't care if it's decaf. But usually we have like a we're snobby. We've grown into our coffee enthusiasm. So it used to be black coffee, black coffee, black coffee. Now we have a Breville machine, which is this fancy like latte machine, right? So we make espresso and steamed milk and all that kinds of stuff. And I love it. I think frankly, I also think that's the best way to consume coffee. One of the things I really am adamant about, and I learned this from Dr. Ray Peat, who's just amazing. And a lot of the research around coffee that I know and love was from him. But one of the things you really don't want to do, I'm not like disparaging anybody who does this, but just consider this. You don't want to have a piping hot cup of coffee, no matter what kind it is, latte, black coffee. You don't want to pump yourself full of caffeine before you've had anything to eat. Seriously, it's just not good. It's just going to push on your adrenals. You're going to release a ton of catecholamines and the norepinephrine and adrenaline and all that kinds of stuff. And that's where you get the jitters and all that kinds of stuff. And again, some of us are less sensitive to that than others. I'm really sensitive to it. So I eat my breakfast first, and then usually I'm having my coffee 30 to 60 minutes after that. So my blood sugars are coming up, which is great. That kind of blunts a little bit of that cortisol and catecholamine effect that the coffee has, the caffeine specifically. And so I get the benefit of like the caffeine is amazing, really good, excellent for the liver, really good for the brain and all that sort of stuff. We know that. All the antioxidants and right. I love coffee for that reason. So if you guys aren't coffee people, you should become coffee people, or at least tea or something like that. But anyways, I'll stop belaboring on coffee. So I have my coffee. Super delicious, amazing. And then usually Sherelle and I have a moment in time where now she's downstairs. She's one of those people who drinks coffee without her breakfast. Sorry, Sherelle. I'm not trying to put you under the bus, but then we have a moment to like just spend time together. The girls are doing their thing. Maybe they're reading books or whatever. And we kind of just have that like quick, like morning huddle of like, what do you got going on today? What are we doing? What's, all that kinds of stuff. And I love that moment for us. And, we get to we work together a lot, like all the time. So that's really special to me to, again, have that time and that peace with her. So anyways, we kind of wrap that up. And then again, if I'm going into a patient day, I'm usually starting to see patients at like 9 a.m. I'm completely virtual telehealth right now. Maybe that'll change someday, but I've really enjoyed that too. Like I didn't know if I'd like being home all the time, because I'm a people person. I love people. So, but anyways, went virtual telehealth mostly to just be able to focus more time on HRT University. We live out in the sticks now. We're about 30, 45 minutes from like Cincinnati, Ohio proper. So we're out there in the country, so to speak. And we love it. It's just been great. But I spent a lot of time driving. I would spend literally almost, if I'm driving 40 minutes into the office twice a day times 5 days a week or whatever, it was catching up. There was a lot of time, wasted time in a lot of ways. So again, a total blessing to be able to work from home. But anyway, so if I'm seeing patients, I just get right into it. Usually my patient days they're not so heavy. I mean, truly, I might see at the most 6 or 8 patients in a day, right? Mixture of follow-ups and some initial consultations and things like that. And I love that. I get to, really spend some time and hang out with a lot of my patients who I've had for years now and other patients who are new, and that's fun. I usually get to call Brittany a handful of times, my receptionist with Apollo, who's just the loveliest person you'll meet. And we get to have our kind of little huddle. How's your day going? What's going on? And I really, honestly, a lot of my days are structured around like, when do I get to call the people I love and get to talk with them a little bit? And, not just about work, like, how's your life going? How's your day going? What's going on with the family? Do you need any help with anything? Whatever that might be. Even, some of the contractors I work with, right? So maybe it's some of the video people or audio people and that kind of stuff. I love those moments because I'm a people person, and I try to make sure that I have that break between patients and stuff where I get to have those times. So that fills my cup up a lot. So, we homeschool the girls, and by we, it's very much mostly Sherelle, which she's amazing at. She just crushes it. For those of you who don't know, I was homeschooled my whole life growing up. Sherelle was not. She went to public school. But we both loved the idea of homeschooling the girls, and she's really taken that on so much, and she just is a rock star at that. So the girls have co-op which is a really great little, community where they meet up with other homeschoolers and, kind of go to school kind of thing. They can hang out with their friends, and they're out doing stuff all the time, even outside of the days where they go to co-op. They're going to the zoo or going to the park or going to the library and picking out books and all that fun stuff. So they're out doing their thing for the most part during the day, which is great because, again, I get to kind of focus on my patients, answer messages, all that sorts of stuff. So I'll mention this again, early morning, I'm trying to get the most amount of work done possible because that's when I'm sharp. So for patient days, in between patients, I'm getting to emails, like urgent emails, right? I need to get this done, or tasks maybe. And that can float into the other business too, right? Sometimes there are things I need to do for HRT University on days where I'm at Apollo and vice versa. So I try to get all that stuff done before noon. If I can get it done before 11, I'm super, super happy with that. I use Asana, which is kind of our task manager. And that's amazing because, again, I can kind of put it on my schedule, my calendar, so to speak. And I see every single day, like, here are the things I need to do, even outside of like working with patients and all that sorts of stuff. Hey, Nico, record a podcast. Hey, Nico, write this content piece, maybe work on a PowerPoint for a conference that I'm going to, whatever it might be. So, again, I think a lot of, I'm not going to call myself like ultra success. A lot of successful people would tell you, get the, we're triaging here. Get the hard stuff done first, right? It's kind of like exercise and working out, right? Like, just get it over with because it's easy to drag your feet around it. And by the evening, the last thing we want to do is like those really tough things that take up a lot of our brain power and physical power. Again, that's just from my lifestyle. Some people it might be opposite, but that works really well for me. I really like having that opportunity to get that stuff done. So then, I always have a lunch. I'm selfish in that way. I do not ever have a day where I have not blocked out my lunch. I think for years as an RN and then, as an NP student and stuff, like, lunches were a total shit show. I mean, right? If you're, most of you here are, a medical provider, if you're a nurse, an NP, a PA, a MD, it doesn't matter. DO, lunches, meals in general, especially when you're in the hospital system, let alone, God, even in a clinic, it's so challenging, right? You've got all these things to do and stuff. And so I got to a point where I said, you know what? I don't care if for some reason I'm making a little extra money because I don't eat lunch. That's not important to me. I need an hour from 12 to 1 every single day where I'm just eating lunch. And it might be kind of rushed. Again, it's not perfect, but I have that really long buffer time where I get to kind of decompress a little bit in the middle of the day. Cause again, I've also been working since like 4 or 5 a.m. So like I'm hurting. My blood sugars are dropping. I'm ready to eat. I've probably drank 15 San Pellegrinos or whatever, or Topo Chicos, my sparkling water obsession, right? And so I have to pee and I have to eat. So I set aside an hour. If Cheryl's home, we get to have lunch together. If the girls are home, amazing. Like, that is really fun too. Like, I get to just kind of like enter back into family life for a second. Again, maybe make some calls if I need to, if I have some time after lunch, and then get right back to it. So again, if I'm finishing out a clinic day, I've got my patients the rest of the afternoon. I'm getting to messages and refills and anything else that's kind of left over there. And that's usually a clinic day. I try to be done with my last patient by 5 p.m. Again, I'm kind of selfish with my schedule, but I like to be done. I like to be done at a reasonable time so that I then can easily transition back to being husband, dad, and family member and all that stuff. And thank you so much for checking out this clip and tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. If you really liked it, I definitely recommend that you click here to watch the whole entire video where I go into much more detail. Thank you again for joining, and I'll see you there.